Breaking news. If everything holds as is now, Joe Biden is going to be the Democratic nominee for president for his second term. Why? Because when the sitting president wants to run again, it's hard for a party to primary him, at least effectively. And that means that we could be looking at Biden, Trump, 2. And as we know with every movie we've seen before, the sequel, meh. So let's discuss. NewsNation political editor Chris Stirewalt joins me. What good luck that I had you booked already, and then this announcement comes. If you made that happen, thank you. Are you surprised?
I called Biden.
What does this mean? Thank you. What does this mean on the Democratic side of the ball?
Well, so right now, Joe Biden only has nominal to goofy kind of opposition in his party. Marianne Williamson, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. I would use as your threshold going forward about how difficult Joe Biden's situation is based on, is it a candidate who he feels like he has to debate? Is it somebody that he feels that he can't blow off and he has to go on stage with? So now you're looking for, is there a Julian Castro? Is there somebody, particularly a non-white or a non-male, in a party that is dominated by non-white females? So for Biden, if he can keep it right here, which is Democrats profoundly concerned about Donald Trump and believing that Donald Trump is the most likely Republican nominee, that is Joe Biden's ace in the hole. That's how he stays the course. If he gets looking too good, looks too safe, and he gets a challenge, that could change quickly.
All right, to stick with your own metaphor, but is he only one card deep? Meaning it's not the ace in the hole, that his hand is starting with an ace, which is, well, if it's going to be Trump, I already beat him. And he may beat some of these lackluster guys. I don't even know what a Robert F. Kennedy Jr. versus Trump race would look like. But I would not sleep on the Kennedy appeal, and I would not sleep on RFK Jr.'s appeal either. He can surprise people, this guy. The Kennedy name evinces a lot of romanticism in the Democratic Party, and I know Bobby, and he's a very passionate guy. He's got some positions now that I think are a little hard to justify, but he's desperate to justify them. So if all Biden has is that it's Trump, if it seems that it's not going to be Trump, then do you think people jump in against Biden?
Yeah, that's the weird symbiosis between Biden and Trump. Biden needs Trump in order to be viable. And Republicans, though, and this is the weird part, Republicans are very convinced that Joe Biden is easy to beat. I think that's probably a mistake, or at least easily exaggerated. Incumbent presidents, as you referred to, are extraordinarily hard to beat. The track record is very good for incumbent presidents, certainly in the modern political era, and that's the truth. But Republicans are willing to take chances and do things and follow their emotions and not think as critically, perhaps because they think Joe Biden is easy to beat. So that helps Trump, and Trump helps Biden. So it's a weird cycle, a weird affirming cycle between these two gentlemen that continues to take place.
So right now, Biden has an easier path to the nomination, but that assumes that DeSantis isn't doing as badly as the headlines suggest over the last 2 or 3 days about him. And I take him with a grain of salt. One, because we know what the brothers and sisters do in the media. We love the cycles of building them up and tearing them down, building them up and tearing it down, keeping it close, keeping it interesting. He has made himself a culture warrior, though. And there is some reporting that big donors who thought that he would be the antidote are getting a little nervous. What do you know, and what do you think?
So a month ago, 2 months ago, we were told by the same people who are now writing the obituary for Ron DeSantis' presidential campaign that it was a two-man race. It was Trump and DeSantis, and that's the way it was going to be. You and I talked about it at the time. We knew it was not true. This is a long football game, right? The decision for a presidential nomination happens in the course of about 6 or 8 weeks, and it'll happen in February and March of next year. But the time between now and then, the 10 months, the 11 months before that happens, is a grueling, long march. And the question for Ron DeSantis isn't, will he win or will he not win? It is, he was riding very high with super high expectations. He has had a series of pratfalls, right? He's had a bad couple of weeks where he has made errors in judgment, but that's what you'd expect from a first-time candidate. That's what you'd expect for somebody who is trying to figure out how to run for president. The thing to watch with DeSantis is not how is he doing today. The thing is, does he learn from this? Does he get better at this? And the same people who are writing him off now, you know, the other story they love to tell, we love to tell in the press this one, the comeback kid. The comeback kid. And don't be surprised if 6 weeks from now they're doing Ron DeSantis back and better than ever. It's just a long way to go.
Hey, thank you for watching. Please go to newsnationnow.com, newsnationnow.com, and you can find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button down below. Then you will get more of NewsNation's fact-driven coverage.